So, hello everyone, my name is Ishan Rao, I am from IIT Tirupati, and this is the 13th session. Basically, it's the extra session that we are taking right now. So, if you have any questions with respect to programming Java, we can do that. Otherwise, we are just covering, we're going to see an overview of what we have done till now in this session, say in this last 12 weeks, especially in this interaction sessions. Okay, so we have written a lot of code, and those things we have discussed a lot of different concepts in Java till now, and these are concepts which we have just introduced, not more like uh, and we have done it using some hard coding that we have tried here. Okay, but if you want to go ahead and try it out by yourself, you have to do a lot of practices, spend a lot of time here. This is not the end, this is starting. We just touch all the different topics. Okay, so yeah, I think one of you has raised your hand. Yes, you can ask your question. You can unmute yourself and ask question at any point of time as well.
I wanted to ask that in AWT programming,
Mm-hmm.
some of the methods are deprecated in Java. Like in frame, the set size method is deprecated, so I'm not able to compile that program. When I search for alternative of that, it's recommended that I should use JFrame class instead of frame. So, what kind of question am I expecting in the exam? Like, are the questions going to be from the lectures which are recorded, or the questions are going to be about the new practices?
For that, for answering your first question, why it's not able to compile and all those issues are coming, because Java AWT has been its support has been removed after Java 8. So because of that, if you have a newer Java version installed your system, so you can't compile it. So if you have Java 8 or older version than that, you can compile it. The course in the NPTEL, the professor who's teaching this is using Java 8 till now. So answering your first question, if you can revert back to it, you can try it out. Answering a second question, whether it will come to exams and all. Rather than this recorded session, I haven't covered AWT because this has been discontinued and not been used much. But if you still want to see programmatically wise, whatever I have covered in the lectures, uh, nothing more will come outside from it, not even the programming aspect as well. So and even the programs that they might ask you to write, they will be very small, because as exam they can't expect you to write whole full program, especially with respect to AWTs and all that. So they might ask you basic competitive programming questions with respect to Java and all that, not with respect to AWT.
Okay, so I'm supposed to learn and learn from the lectures which are recorded and not from any other external source.
No, you can do that. Only first go through those lectures, because then you will understand the kind of scope they are providing there. Okay,
Okay.
because now lot of new technologies are there. Obviously, they were not going to ask anything as upgradation of Java ability. But first, you should know that what has been covered as from Java AWT from the lectures. So if they're covering very small aspect or very small aspect from it, you don't have to, especially specifically for exams, you don't have to go and search outside. If you're not able to
Okay.
understand that, then you can go obviously to
Yeah, I
look at
was
from.
asking from an exam point of view, so I have to take a reference from these lectures only. Okay.
Yeah, that will be much better, I would say.
Oh,
Specifically for exam, practice more on output questions. Like they will just give a code snippets, and just you have to say that whether it will run or not, or what kind of output it will generate, those kind of thing. Or they might ask you with respect to, okay, this is the particular code. It has some problem. Now it's your turn to fix it and run it. So what are they might give you some either options, or they might ask you to solve it, or they might just ask you, like competitive programming, they might give you just some questions, and then you have to solve it for the particular input test cases.
okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions? Okay. Uh, just to summarize that what we have covered in last 12 sessions, so I will start by looking at the codes and all. So I will show you what we have done as an overview, and anywhere you have any doubts with any concepts, please you can unmute yourself because I can't see the screen while I'm presenting. Um, okay, so I'm presenting my screen now. Okay, so I hope you can see my screen right now. This is IntelliJ IJ, and throughout the whole 12 weeks, I've used IntelliJ IDEA, basically community versions, to run the codes and all that. Uh, so we started off earlier with something. We tried actually Java programming when we started in the first week with running Java on a terminal. So how we can write the code and run the code in the Java in the terminal itself, or command or as a command prompt in Windows. I think that's the word there. But for Mac and Linux terminal, so we are used with that. Now from week 2, we have introduced the this IDE where we have a lot of functionality specifically for Java language. A lot of fields are there, and we started with the basics of class and objects, where we create a class as a class.java and all that, and followed by we write a main.java from where we call these functions. So I will create an object of car in this case, and then I will try to access certain functions which is accessible to me from the car.java, right? So a lot of functionalities we have seen here. So I'm just going to overview with respect to what are the functionalities which are present in a typical class. Okay, so usually a class consists of two aspects. As of now, you have already written a lot of programs with respect to it, that it has fields as well as it has methods, right? Uh, Now, in this also a lot of nuances are there, that how you can how you can use the field, how you can access the field, what are the aspects come into picture. Then we have look into access modifiers like private, public, protected, default, static, final. Those are the access modifiers or keywords which provide the scope for which provides the scope for the variable, as not only variable as well as the method that what we are trying to achieve, define in the particular class, right? So we have this private, mostly ideally it's always a good practice to make your mm, fields as private, maybe to protect it to a level. Okay, you should only keep your any variable as public only when you know that. Let's define that also. So if you want to keep your public field as public, only those variable you have to make it public which are static in nature. Okay, so static in nature, that means it will have only one copy for all the objects that you are creating right now, right? So if you're having a public a field, make sure to keep it static. So we have seen multiple scenarios for public static for fields as well, when we are trying to create some kind of ID for an employer, um, or a student roll number, where we want the code to automatically give unique IDs to each of the object. So whenever it is creating the object, this public static field of particular ID or any other roll numbers, it will create automatically, right? So if you're using public, keep static. It's a good practice to keep static. Otherwise, keep private. If you want to keep field as protected, in those scenarios, make sure that you use this only in scenarios when you're performing some inheritance, or like performing inheritance, like it is using some subclasses are involved, or abstract classes are involved. Okay, in these two scenarios, it is good practice to make your field protected. Okay, private by default you should keep it, such that you should not access it. So we have seen for that lot of scenarios. Also, if I make it public, then I can, so for example, in this in the earlier sessions, we tried to change the make, model, or color of a particular car. These are the fields present in car.java. So these aspects we are able to make it change from the main function itself, and it causes a lot of problem, because now most of it is revealing all my code. It is revealing all the car.java code to me. Through certain trial and error, I can extract these problems, right? So to resolve such kind of thing, that if you have private variables, and since you don't have to access it, how you can assign certain values to them, right? So there are two ways for it. One way is using get and set method. So get, make, set, make, like these are the methods to return the private variables from the particular object or particular class to the class where it is calling. So that is for get functions. And then we have something or set functions, uh, like we will defining that how to assign a particular value to it, right, to a private variable. So we'll have to pass in set functions, for a field we have to pass value for sure. We can't just pass the we can't just call a set function empty. You have to pass a variable uh, as a compulsory, such that those value will be stored in a particular file. Okay, so this is for set and get. Next aspect is constructor. I think in this uh, file I haven't created it. I will go to that aspect as well. Now another important thing, which my these are very basic aspects, that is this keyword or super keyword, right? So this keyword is usually used for an object. So if if you just keep model just like this, uh, it it will create an issue later in your code, where the compiler will not able to understand that when I'm assigning a model value to a particular variable, which object it belongs to. So to resolve such kind of things, to say that okay, object one is assigning a particular value to a model. So this will lead to object one, maybe the identifier of that, to that particular thing. So each object has its own private fields as well as access to the methods. So similarly, to differentiate that each object has different values, uh, we have to see that this keyword we have to use constantly over the period of time when assigning a value, okay, for to make differentiate between different objects. Okay.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, is this the session for revision for the 27 April exam?
Yeah, it's just an overview or summary of what we have covered till now. Yes, nothing more than that.
So, how many session on this topic will you take for the 27th April exam?
Unfortunately, this is the last session. I'm allowed to take only 1 hour session, extra session for this. So this 1 hour I'm trying to spend on this time for the revision. But if you have any specific question, you can ask me as well. Yeah. Uh, Followed it, we have constructors. So like set and make is one of the ways to assign a particular values, but this still is also a very cumbersome method that we have to pass values for an object. Why can't we directly pass the value when we are creating the object, right? So for that, constructors are there. uh, I think here I will have constructors. Yeah. Okay, so we have constructors for initializing by default. So if you have any value, you try to initialize, if and when you try to access this particular class creating an object, you can call this. It will be called automatically if you don't create one. But if you explicitly specify it, you will tell that by default, if an object is created and you haven't specified any value, what values should be there for the each field. So for example, this public account is a default constructor that it has, and followed by this public account with lot of parameters is called parameterized constructor, uh, and obviously we have to pass certain values to here. Now constructor can have multiple overloaded aspect as well, so this is called as overloaded constructor. Same concept as method overloading, where you can take multiple sorry, let's say you have 5 parameters. In this case I think I have 5 parameters, and you only want to pass only 3 parameters, right? So for that also we can provide an option, and we can pass only the values that we want, and for the rest we can just provide some random values, right? So in this case, for a particular account, we have account balance, customer name and email, phone number and account number. So if I'm creating an object with only account number, account balance and customer name, I can keep my email and phone number as something by default value. So this is considered overloaded constructor. And uh, the advantage of this is, if you just want to quickly create an object, test it out, you can try it and test these things out later. Another thing is, if still if you want, there's something called as this function. So it is kind of different, similar to super function, but only this thing is, only this if when you're using this function, it has to come at the first line of your particular constructor. It is used in constructors, or any other function also it is fine. So what happens is, when you add this, the pass parameters from the particular overloaded constructor, this function will go to this original parameterized constructor where all the parameters are present. Okay, it will go to there. It will, this is not a standalone, it will again call have an internal call from inside the constructors to call another constructor where all the field for the particular object will be filled either by default values or either by passed values. Okay, so in this case overload constructor we have both default as well as some passed values. So we are using this constructor to call this constructor, sorry, this function will call this the main constructor where all the parameters are available to be assigned, and there it will fix it. Once you assign all this value, the object creation will be completed. So this is a kind of constructors that we can have, multiple type of constructors we can have. Let me see anything else that we can see from this code. Okay, so this is mostly about constructors with following get and set functions. Okay, let me see. Okay, same aspects here. Okay, so this is about just basic creation of objects and constructor, how we're dealing with constructor. Uh, Followed by, then we went to more deeper about it to know that okay, classes and objects as a concept they are present, but how we structurize them to different aspects. So we have something called OOPS principles in this case, and for this we have the OOPS principles, that is consist of encapsulation, polymorphism, abstraction and inheritance, right? So encapsulation is the first thing, and it's a common thing that you have started already doing when you started coding your thing. So encapsulation aspect is usually covered by object, because a object usually it's a accumulation of both fields and method. So it already have a structure over structure. So even this class is there. If I create an object of that, let's say enhance player in, let's say I'm creating an object here of a enhanced player, this already providing me encapsulation. Okay, but to provide more further what you say protection to it, we use access modifiers to deal with it. And let me go here. So by looking at the code, it will be just look like a normal code where you have certain uh, uh, fields, certain methods with get and set functions, and you're returning certain values with certain constructors. All this thing will be available, but uh, with encapsulation you provide much more security with to your uh, code, to your objects, such that no one can access it. So I've demonstrated at that point of time that we have a player, a class called player, and almost I think everything, even the function as well as variable, has set as public. So when I'm trying to access them, uh, I'm changing its code from here by passing them values, and it is affecting the player because it's not giving me a consistent result at that point of time. So to resolve such kind of things, we have created an enhanced player where we kept private and only kept few function which is public, remaining we have kept as private. Okay, so once we do this, we have, with the help of constructors and all, we are able to deal with the encapsulation aspect. Okay, so this is by default you use over a period of time in your Java code. It's not something very different separately that you have to do, just like in the case of polymorphism, inheritance and abstraction. You have to define certain classes, certain interface abstract classes, or method overloaded or overriding. Those things comes into play, but in encapsulation it is by default as a feature is present in your Java. So that is one thing. So if you have any question with respect to oops things, please let me know. I can't see the chat right now, but you can
Sir,
unmute yourself and then you can ask me. Yeah.
excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Like for the 27th April exam, can you have some do you have some PYQs regarding the
So sorry, I don't have access to those things because I'm external to this the prof who is teaching it. So I'm just a provider for this external sessions. So I don't have any data or any questions from assignments, from old time assignments, as well as the any question paper with respect to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or do you have like some pattern how will the paper come so that we can
Mm,
prepare for it?
See, I haven't seen any NPTEL paper as of now for Java, so I can't be sure about what exactly I should say with respect to. But I can see that since it's a programming based exam, will be like the language is programming. So the few questions that you might expect here is, given a program, what is wrong with the program? Okay, or they might like, what is the output of this program? Or they might ask you, given a question, solve it, like program it particularly, like a competitive programming. So those things will be there. uh, or considering it's a programming, so a lot of MCQs will be there, like maybe in some kind of assignments you have a lot of MCQs, right? So they will and try to test your concepts based on that, and that as well. So those are the overview thing. Like exactly, I even I don't know the patterns. Yeah. Okay. So following the polymorphism, there's two aspects in a polymorphism. Uh, First is method overloading, followed by method overriding. So method overloading is pretty basic to understand that, and we have seen through constructor as well. So given a function, let's say, yeah. So this case I'm highlighting on the screen right now. This case comes as the method overloading, uh, where uh, a function is there with the same name, but it might have different number of parameters in this case. So one function no parameters, one function three parameter, two parameters, even a function in the parameters also, if I change it to any other what you say uh, data type, that is also method overloading. If I just change the return type of function, that is also method overloading, right? So these are very common thing that you have seen, or maybe have seen in other programming language also, the method overloading aspect, that you calling the same function, calling a function with same name, but different parameters, even the type of different parameters can be changed. However, in method overriding, which we have focused lot in this aspect, is yeah.
था मेरे 20 असाइनमेंट मैंने जमा किए थे जिनमें एरर आ रही है और मैंने उनको सही भेजा था तब भी उसमें शो 0 आ रहा है.
Sorry, for that you have to ask them NPTEL people only. I can't answer for that.
Sometime you have to reset. There's a reset button, and then you have to submit the code. Sometimes there is an issue with the portal.
तो असाइनमेंट स्टोर में क्या ये स्टोर जुड़ेगा प्रोग्रामिंग वाला?
तुम्हें रीसेट वाले पे क्लिक करना है और फिर उसके बाद वापस से सबमिट कर देना अपना कोड, उससे सही हो जाता है. कभी कभार इशू हो जाता है.
You can try that. If it's still issue is there, you have to directly contact the NPTEL team at that point of time. Okay, so coming back to overriding, method overriding. So it usually comes actually after inheritance. I've skipped the inheritance part, but I know you people know most already know the inheritance, that you have a class and you extend it using extend keyword, you get an inheritance, right? So where the method overriding come into picture? The method overriding come into picture where your subclass and superclass both have the same function name. Method overriding. So let's say a function is there, so that is present in your superclass as well. Now you are inherited, and since you can access it, either you can access it or you can change the functionality of the function in the subclass. So once you do this scenario, if this scenario arises, we do the overriding. So this overriding, you can, even without this also it will run. That is particularly fine. But it's good practice to write as a override, because when you're reading a particular code after a long time, you will know that if you just look at override, you know that this watch movie method is actually inherited. So wherever you find the word override, you just understand that particular function is actually inherited from its superclass. So from its superclass, and then it's your task right now to look at the superclass to see that where the actual that function lies in. Okay, so that's the concept of overriding that we look into, and it is used for since you are inheriting it and you have to see that function from a different angle, that you don't want you want to have some new aspect to it, or you want to add some new print statement functionality to it. At that point of time, method overriding will come into picture. Here the return type as well as the parameters will be remain the same. Okay, only the content within the function will change. So that's how it is different from method overloading. And the first aspect should be that it should be inherited. So if you are just writing this function and this present function is not written, not available in its superclass, let's say in this case movie, this aspect will not come into the method overriding aspect in the conditions of method overriding. Okay, so that is something that you have to keep in mind. So let's say this watch adventure function was not present in its superclass. So if you just write annotation, this override is called as annotation. So if you try to write annotation, it might work. Let's see whether it will work also or not. But sorry, I think, yeah. Okay, so if you just write this override, it will give you some kind of error or something like this, because if you just click on it, method doesn't override from its superclass. So that's kind of error or warning it will give to you. So you have to use such kind of annotation also very carefully when you're using method overloading or method overriding in this case. A lot of annotations are available. I've shown few over the course of this lecture, but if you want to try it out when you are going to write your own program for a software and all, these annotations are very much useful. Okay, so these are for polymorphism, method overloading and overriding aspect coming to the picture. I think next is inheritance. Let me see in inheritance. I can see something. Um, okay, I think I've written a lot of code here. So I have a student class, and here nothing is there. Public worker, this is also nothing. Okay, employee, extend, worker, and all those stuff. Okay, few more aspect coming to both polymorphism as well as worker, that your whole Java functions, right? All the basic Java libraries or Java collections, as you have seen till now, these are all comes under the inheritance aspect. Okay, so if you just see a chart basically for a Java, the superclass of all the Java classes is called as object. Okay, and from that every other function has been derived. So to demonstrate that, or just to show that, uh, Java class, Java object class, um, let's see, I can find the let me see whether I can get some Java class hierarchy. If I can get that diagram, it will be good. Okay, that's fine, even though we don't have diagram. So for a typical Java is actually define all this into uh, these few classes as well as the classes that you define. At the top it has some object, and it supports certain kind of data types. Even the data types like lang number as also has some more further data types, in this case a byte, double, float, integer, and all that. These we have seen as wrapper classes: byte, double, float, integer, long, short, and all, from where we can access the int, double, the small int, small double, float that we use as a data type, right? So the process builder, runtime, security manager, stack trace element, strict math, all these functions are actually come inside the class of hierarchy of object, and from there multiple more classes or packages has been built over the period of time. Jav.lang is one such aspect. There are a lot of other packages that are available outside as well. uh, so this hierarchy is something that you keep in mind. So why I told this hierarchy specifically for this is okay, so there are a lot of hierarchy of packages are there. uh, I think one of you asked for Java AWT as well. It supports still, I think, Java 8 only in this aspect. Uh, okay, so why I asked for basically those aspects, because there are certain functions which are already mostly present, which you can inherit it even though you're creating your own class and you are not inheriting from everyone. So let's say this employee works extend worker, right? So this you have seen that override public toString method. Okay, so toString method is simple method to if you just call toString, it will print the object. It will print the content in the object. Sorry, content in the object. Okay, And now this toString method is available for any class you create. It's just not that it is you get this function from worker. So let's go to worker also. Here also we have overridden it. So and here in worker we have not extended anything. We have not extended from any other class, right? So why we can override certain function? Even I can show you with so you can see that we have some 4-5 functions: object, hash code, equal, clone. So these functions are by default we can override it. So why it is happening like this? Why we can override it? As a concept of that we have seen in polymorphism, even though we haven't used any inheritance, the reason is all your classes uh, is by default of subclass of class object. So the package that we have seen earlier with respect to it, this hierarchy, this class object is there in java.lang package. This object is the highest mode topmost hierarchy, and from there, irrespective of any class that you're creating of your own also, it will be inherited. And that's why toString method is a common method to print your object thing, which you can override. Otherwise, any other function called object function, hash code function, equals, clone, all this function, yet you can derive it. Okay, so this is I think it's about inheritance, encapsulation, polymorphism. Now let's look at abstraction. So let me open such those things as well. Just give me a minute. And let me close certain classes. Okay, for this time that being okay, so basically abstract classes and interfaces are come as a part of uh, basically in concept of abstraction. That is, you're providing a overall structure view, abstraction and abstract classes and interfaces. Okay, so these are come part of the OOP concept of abstraction, where you are trying to create uh, just a overview of modular view of a class that you want to be, and then you extend it, inherit it, uh, and then you try to work on your particular class. Okay, so usually start with there are few more aspects come into picture where abstract class can be inherited. They are inherited. You can use extend keywords, while as interfaces that we'll see in few minutes of time will it just implements, right? So a class can be so abstract class can be created, and an abstract class can have its own sub abstract classes, or a typical normal class can also extend a abstract class. So a lot of aspect will come into picture. It's very similar to the typical class. Only difference will come into the place where you're using the keyword called abstract in the method. These are called as abstract methods. They are always public. Okay, by no default. If you try to put private, it will give some errors or issues with respect to it. And you don't have it's usually told that you should not specify the body of an abstract method. Okay, so when you're inheriting this, but particularly this abstract class, at that point you have to define the body. Okay, otherwise, but in older times, also in older Java versions, uh, it's not allowed to even write a normal function. So here you can write normal function, it's called as concrete method. So any method that you have written till now with the body is called concrete method, and any method which you just declare it, so it yeah, you just declare it, doesn't define it, it's you can call it as the abstract function. Okay, so one this part is there, that abstract methods makes a class abstract. So if I just remove this abstract class and just keep it as public class, you can see that red underline came into an abstract near the abstract keyword, and it's mostly the error will say that the abstract method in non-abstract class, so which is not allowed. So you have to keep that small things in the mind. It has to be public, you have to keep abstract thing. You can define a concrete method as well, though it's not pretty much preferable, but still you can define a concrete method within abstract class as well. Now if you so let me see where it has been accessed. So animal is there, right? So let me see. Yeah, a normal class is there, fish, which extend animal. Animal is an abstract class. Now one more thing which gives an error typically is that, let's say I have two abstract class, right? Move and make noise. These two are abstract are there. So let's say if I don't I have them, I extended the class, but I don't write this abstract method in my class. Okay, so if I do this, a typical error will come, which is shown in public class fish extend animals itself there, that class fish must either be declared abstract or implement the abstract method. Okay, so this means is, so just a minute, sorry. So whenever you are using an abstract class and you are extending it to a class, it is compulsory to define the abstract method. Okay, so this is a it's absolutely compulsory to define that whatever the methods are which are present in the animal, that is move and fish, you have to specify it, and then while you specifying it, you have to write this annotation at the rate override. It's a good practice to write this, and which tells that eventually that you have to that you are overriding your superclass function and you're adding it's your own body. Okay, so it's a kind of compulsory aspect that you come into picture, and it is not only for abstract, it is also, this aspect is also applicable to interfaces as well. Okay, so if you had implementing an interface or extending a abstract class, it's a must that you should specify the or override the override an abstract method. Okay, so that is one thing that you have to keep in mind, because this is small things that we will keep uh, uh, what you say forgetting about it, because we say that it's okay that in typical inheritance it is okay for me to call certain function, not to use certain functions or methods, but in abstract class it's compulsory for me to do that. Following this, I think someone has sent some messages, so let me check that. Just a minute. I think no one has done that. Okay. Um, so if you have any someone is raising hand, you can unmute yourself. You don't have to raise, because I can't see the screen directly all the time. So you can unmute yourself and you can ask the question.
So when I was working with JDBC in Java,
Okay.
during my SQL setup,
Mm-hmm.
when I was following my teacher
Mm-hmm.
in my NPTEL course,
Mm-hmm.
here while setting up, he was just after installation of MySQL,
Mm-hmm.
there he was just getting a folder MySQL, and from there he was going to bin, and then he was using that address for connection in JDBC. But
Yeah, the
in my case,
path you are saying, right?
yeah, that path.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
in my case, when I was completed my in my SQL,
Mm-hmm.
that time I was having 4 folders after installation. That is my SQL Workbench, Shell, Server, and Router.
Okay.
Out of this, out of this, which one of the path I should use for the connection in JDBC?
Ideally, you should look out for Workbench because in the Workbench you will define your databases, tables, and all that. But again, you have to see the documentation because it's keep changing from time to time. The one you have seen from the NPTEL, it's most probably 100% it's an older example. At that time, it might work, but now because of new functionality, they might have changed the setup. So here you have to look at the outer source, the recent sources, that how you can connect your SQL using JDBC to your Java application. But mostly, if you have to use that path, I think Workbench should be the ideal. The last time I did that, it's for Workbench, but again you have to check that because changes from time to time. Even when I did a lot of time ago, years ago, that time also some parameters were changing when I'm calling the function. So please check that once.
One more thing, sir. But when I was trying to work with Workbench,
Mm-hmm.
at that time, bin folder is not present. So what path should I use? Copy the whole Workbench.
Bin folder was not present means it was not there from the initial, or you're saying that.
Not not there from the initial in Workbench.
And in that Workbench, okay, so forget about JDBC. When you're creating your SQL, you open your SQL application, right? And you open your Workbench. So at that time, did you add anything, any data set or database into that, any table into that?
No, because when I work with SQL,
Huh.
at that time I opened the SQL, means it was like graphics oriented thing that I opened.
Yes,
I don't
GUI.
work.
Yeah, GUI application only I'm talking about. Yes.
Yeah. At that time, I just go to Workbench and I click there, and it just open, and I perform my SQL codes or commands that I required there, and all the databases are created. But when I am working with Java,
Mm-hmm.
at that time I have to copy the address to the Java code. And for that reason, I was not able to perform that connection because I am not getting it.
Okay, at that time, I need to check your code. I have to check two things. First, the path, as well as in JDBC, you also have to specify the database to connect into, right? Database and its own username password for it. So, how you have configured it, that is some, unless I see it, I can't exactly tell you the source of the problem.
And so how can I solve this?
Maybe you can share me the code. I will share you my email ID. You can share me the code. I will check it from my side and get back to you.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Sir, please send me
Yeah.
your email address.
Yeah. I will just wrap up this few aspects and then but at the end I will share you. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So this is there. So we have talked about abstract classes for abstraction. Just let me open the interfaces as well. Okay. So let me look at interfaces. Yeah. So interfaces is well, let's say much more stricter and much more tuned to the abstraction concept. Where uh, okay, before that, abstract classes, one more common aspect that it doesn't have any object. You can't instantiate an abstract class. Uh, uh, cannot instantiate. That means you can't create an object for it. Okay, you cannot instantiate, and even though it's a class, right? But for interfaces, since it's not a class, it's just a basic structure providing it. Obviously, you can't create an object for it. This also cannot instantiate. Uh, so yeah, coming back to the flight interfaces. Interfaces usually come in the combination with both uh, what you say abstract classes as well as, I think I should look for where is class. Here I have to, I think okay, usually interfaces are deal with both abstract classes as well as interfaces. Okay, so given a interface, you can extend an interface to another. Okay, that's a one thing. Otherwise, you have to implement it. Okay, so you have to extend, in this case, animal is an abstract class, so you have to extend it, and flight, enable and trackable are interfaces. Another important point is, so during extend you can only put one class. Okay, you can't put two or more classes. So that's a basic flaw of, not basic flaw, but that's a basic constraint of Java, because if you are inheriting two classes, it's very hard to define, uh, uh, if you're calling a function from any of the two classes, which function you're calling into, right? Since we are dealing with objects and all, it's very hard to define which functions you're calling to and which it should go to which objects. So that's why anytime you're extending and extending a class, it should only be one. However, this restriction is not there for implements. You can write two or orbit or n number of these things, n number of interfaces. So that will be typically fine, because interfaces also doesn't deals with the object in this case. Plus interfaces, by default in interfaces, uh, you have, let me look at flight enable only. You have only function definitions, nothing more than that, like this fly. But if you want to write a concrete function here, it's present from, I think, Java 13 or 12, that you can write a concrete method. That method type should be of default. It can't be private, protected or public. It can't be like that. It can only has to be a default in this aspect. But if you're using just write public fly, it will be simply mean a public abstract void fly. Okay, so by default any function you write there, it will be by default it's abstract. Otherwise, if you want to specify, make an method with some body, you have to specify the keyword default in this case. Also, one more thing, the variables that we are having here in interface are public static by nature. That means you can't change these values. So there's no so you can consider them as a constant. Okay, so these are constant variables, and then you can use it in your code according to wherever it's necessary. Now another thing, as you can see here, like just like abstract class, if you are interfaces also, that if you're adding more and more interfaces, the you have to use their functions in your class. So it says that class bird must either be declared abstract or implement the abstract method achieve or object or achieve orbit in from object earth. So any function I'm adding, any interface I'm adding here, abstract class, I have to also has to define their abstract methods. So the same rule applicable gets applicable here as well. Okay, so these are the few things about the 4 OOP loops. I know it's very basic and high overview, but I'm just quickly going brushing through those things as a summary. All these codes are available, so if you just all the sheet that I think it's accessible to you, or any of the YouTube videos, from that you can access all these codes that I have written with respect to it. So we have seen classes, object, all the 4 OOPs concept. Okay, Uh, and recently we have talked about the Java collection. We have talked about Java collection extensively, where we have looked into linked list. Sorry, we have looked into uh, what's a list as a Java collection which has linked list, array list. Okay, we have also looked at arrays which are not it doesn't come in does not come in collections, Java collections. Okay, list we have seen sets, uh, and also the some called a hash maps, hash set, tree set. So this part I'm not just talking about here. And we have also discussed, sorry, not hash map. Yeah, tell me.
So, like if there is a map which contains a key
Hmm.
of any data type and there is a value which is a array list,
Uh-huh.
then how can we access based on that key? How can we access that array list?
Values. You ask.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me open that. I think I have done that as well. Set and maps. So it's quite common. So you use the function called values. Um, let me see that. Okay. Let's see, where is values coming for? You want to see map, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So just to show you how it can be done. So I have some data which is stored in contact.getData. It has email IDs for a particular names, and I have created a list of that type. Okay. Now when I'm creating a hash map, let's say hash map is there. Uh, I will have string and contact as type. That is, contact is the object here. Okay. So each aspect of that contact string, that is the name of that person, I am extracting from the contact, and this is my particular object. So there are two ways to deal with it. Okay. The first way is that I will uh, I will extract each one element from this list, basically, which is named as full list, which contains both email and full list, and I can put them in the hash map and then extract it. That is one way. Another way, directly, that okay, you don't want it, you have somehow for a particular, let's say, let's think like this.
Uh, let's have like a student who
Hmm.
have a number of submissions. Okay, and the number of submissions are stored as an array list for
Okay.
each student.
Okay. So uh, okay, yeah, carry on, carry on.
And we want to like extract the last number of submission of that student.
Okay. So let's assume like this, that you have a student name, okay, which is a key in this case. Assume like that, student ID, whatever, and here the math, science, English, the subject names or subject submissions that you are accessing. Now to access this thing, first you extract the key. Okay, from that key, you can use a for each loop. Using for each loop, you will extract this particular array list. It will be stored, it will get to you as an array list. There's no this thing that the value has to be like this. So using for each word, if I write a lambda expression that for each key I need to extract, or for this particular ID, student name, let's say student name, I need to extract the V. Okay, so I can extract this V directly with the help of key and value. It will automatically give me from that particular map, whatever the map is in this case. Okay, that is one way. That is how you can print it out. Now, either you can print it out, or you can store this V value as an array list. If you know that it's an array list, you can store again back in array list and you can traverse it back. That is one way. Uh, Also, using get function, you specify the Charlie Brown. From that, you will get the set of values here as
So
output.
here,
Hmm.
here I want to ask like the v is the value, right?
Yeah, v is the value.
And we have stored it as, sorry, we have stored it as a array list,
Hmm.
as an array list,
Hmm.
but we want to get the array
Last,
list last index
that is true, but
from that array list.
for that to go to the last list, you have to store that variable, right? Uh, so array list is basically a variable only, right, at the end of the day. So if I store that as an array list, so let's say v is there, v is basically by default Java will keep it as an array list only. It just name is as list. Now once you get that v variable, from there you can now extract you can traverse this v function using for loop, okay, or for enhanced for loop you can do that. You go to the end and you can extract it. You can't go to that thing. First you have to store the output in somewhere, in some variable. So once if you're using this kind of things, so here the v might store it as, and Java will automatically identify that what is the kind of variable that it keeps to. It will keep that and will print it. That is one way. Or you can use get function also. You have the id of that particular thing. From that also the output that you are getting, if you just print it out, it will print your values only. So those values you can print it, store it as a variable, and then traverse it again. There's another method called values. I'm just checking wherever it is. Replace all, replace contact.
Like you have a map and a map dot values.
Yeah, that map dot values. I'm looking at where it is. Reset me. Copied set. Oh, this is for set only, right? Map views. Get class key set.
So you can type something where you have stored a map variable and check if it is a map dot values.
Yeah. So this contact dot values are there. Yeah. Um, okay. I think if I try to run this code, just let me change few things here. Where is the issues coming here? Okay, let me figure out that part later. I think it's public static only, right? Where is that value thing? Okay, let's run this code. System.out.println. Let me run this code to show you this. Yeah, there are two ways. So when I was explaining this, so you can extract using key set. I think where is key set? Using contact.keyset, you can extract all the key set. That is one way. And using contact.values, where I have written here, Okay, so in that also it will extract the both the key the values with respect to it, and you can check it, compare with the keys to see that whether the values are same or not. So let me see whether it will work or not. I'm not sure about it right now. Okay, this is the issue. Just a minute, let me run this code again. Okay, let me see where the output is. Yeah. Uh, so might be not exactly as your thing, but the data that I had is so this is the key that I am having. It's actually it's not even the key. Yeah, this is yes, yeah. So this is actually all our values. So how I stored it, this is you can assume like this. So like Daffy Duck was there. So Daffy Duck was the key, duck comma Daffy, it's a key, and this all highlighted value are the values. Okay, it might contain multiple things. The things that you can see in the square brackets are actually it's a hash set in this case. Okay, in this case you can consider values. In this case you can consider them as array list as well. So this is the format that I have chosen here, but let's assume that you have only array list directly with the student names. Okay, when you use contact or the whatever the object name you have as a hash map, use it values, it will only print you only the values of each and every key, okay, with respect to id. Now what you can do is in this you can try to extract that, let's say you have particular id name is there, you can use get function as well, contact dot get values. Let's say contacts dot get particular student id, so let's say student 1 as a key dot values. If you can do that, you have to check the syntax here. I'm just telling just giving an overview. You can get as a list directly. Now in this again you have to traverse it back. In this case you have to traverse because here I might have multiple values. So let's say let's show you this example. In this case I might not have it. This is map. Okay, in the set I had, okay fine. So in this what I had is for, let's say Mickey Mouse has multiple email ID, so I will store if they are these email ID are different, I will store it side by side. I will append that into my hash set in this case. Now from that I can traverse it back to the email ID, to the email ID that I am searching for, and then I can replace it to the any other email ID that I want to. So that's an overview that I can give you as of now with respect to the question that you are asking. Your main thing should be in this case is how to get first how to get to that values, and then once you get to the value, how you can store that particular value for that particular key. Once you reach that, then traversing part is pretty much easier in this case. I don't know how much you're clear, but with respect to the code, if I can see, I can tell you. Plus, this is a pretty much standard way that I can discuss, tell you about it. Is it your doubt clear with respect to it, or you still have questions?
It is clear.
Like, try it out. I'm not saying that it's the exact answer. Also, I'm saying, but you have to try it out and see that part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Sorry. Unfortunately, it's 7, and this is the only time I can give you as of now. Uh, but thank you, everyone. So if you have any question, please let me know right now. Otherwise, the session is actually end from my side, and there will be no more session after this as well. So this is the last session. So if you have any question, please you can ask me right now. Otherwise, the session is end from my side. It's only a basic summary session, so there's no new concept that I'm as of now I'm telling you.
So will there be no session from your side, like for reason?
Not right now, unfortunately, because I have my own exams are coming up. So we have been given only 12 weeks. This is one extra session, 13th week time. So this is till here only we are allowed as of now. So this is the only time I have. Yeah. But thank you everyone. So like you people are all there towards the whole 12 weeks. You're asking you have been great sport, asking very good questions about it. So thank you very much with respect to it. Uh,
So can you share your email ID?
yeah, sure. Stop presenting. Just a minute. So thank you everyone. Um, if you have any questions with respect to any program that you're not able to understand, you can reach out to me. I am sending my email ID right now. Please copy it if you have later if you have want to have doubt. I will try to answer it within 2 to 3 days, within a day or two if it's weekday, within otherwise if it's weekend by 2 or 3 days in this aspect. Okay, so thank you everyone. So that's the end from my side also. Thank you very much for this journey, and I hope all the best for your exams as well. I hope you score good, and please keep on practicing, because without, even if you know hundreds of concepts in Java, but if you don't practice, it will be not remain. It will not remain in your head. So please keep practicing as well. So thank you everyone. So I'm ending the call for everyone in that case.